Hi, everyone. So I'm Lindsey Ruscio. Thank you for the introduction, Brian. And that ASOS presentation was really inspiring. Thank you so much. I love ASOS, and I'm 43. Shop there all the time. So I'm the photo studio manager at Trove, and today I'm going to talk about branded Recommerce. If you're not familiar with Recommerce, you definitely will be after this, and you'll understand what branded Recommerce is, and that's what Trove does. So let me walk you through it. So, as Brian mentioned, I've been in the photo industry for 16 years, and I started at The Gap. I was supporting photo shoots, sample management, ranging from e-commerce to big TV commercials, within marketing, merchandising, also at Old Navy. I was with the company for 7 years, and that's how I got my start. And I began freelancing as a wardrobe stylist, so I did that for many years, doing editorial work, e-commerce. I live in San Francisco, so I've been mainly working in the San Francisco Bay Area. Then I had a really great opportunity to work at Stitch Fix, and they were still a startup. I think I was like the 100th employee there. And I built their photo studio from the ground up, so sourced a 20,000 square foot warehouse and built a whole product team. It was a really amazing experience. I was there for almost 4 years. And did some more freelancing, and now I'm at Trove, so let me tell you all about it. I'm going to show you a video of an overview of our process at Trove at our old warehouse. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that was our old warehouse. We moved into a new space. We're in Brisbane, California, not Australia, and it's just right over San Francisco. So we're now in a space that's double that size. We're growing. We're a startup, and we're 5 years old. So our mission is to keep items out of landfills and in use longer. That's our number one goal. And to date, we've saved over 1.9 million kilograms of CO2e across all our branded Recommerce platforms, and I'll go into all the platforms. And that is the equivalent of driving 4.7 million miles in a car. So we're really, really excited about that. We're number one as a sustainability company. Lead reasons for purchasing secondhand. This is a direct quote from Forbes. Secondhand products represent a $20 billion business that's expected to more than double to $64 billion by 2024. Like I said, the lead reasons for purchasing secondhand for people is value, affordability, and sustainability. This is our Trove mission statement. It's a couple slides. Trove powers trade-in and resale for the world's most beloved brands. We extend the life of millions of products, helping brands create more sustainable business models that inspire more conscious choices. We are an invisible thread, so that's Trove, we're behind the scenes, that binds brands to people and people to each other, where well-made products get to be appreciated by many others. Sorry, it's a little small print. Shopping is more inclusive and less wasteful, and brands are more well-loved. Welcome to the next era of commerce. So, I just want to talk about how brands can shape cultural changes. Brands are stories, and so how we view this is to be brand focused. One second. I'm sorry. I clicked away first. It needs to be memorable. So to be brand focused means to be involved in the meaning of things, of ownership and of experience. So to buy a tie at Hermes is a meaningful experience. To wear your Arc'teryx jacket on a volcano in Iceland is very meaningful. So brands are stories, quality products have stories, and people have stories. And our stories are culture. We want to create this memorable experience. This is an overview slide of Recommerce in general, and brands have a choice, and we really see it as three different entities. So the first one is the status quo. This is, think of thrift stores. You don't have a limited or no control of your brand. So there's a black hole of data as well. Then the second option is the third party road. So this is more peer-to-peer. Still, you have very, very limited resource of your brand. You don't own your brand channel, and the marketplace owns your customer. So the brand road, what we're calling branded recommerce, is brands own their resale channel, and Trove empowers that for the brand and does all the operations and logistics for you. These are our current brands that we're working with for Trove. They're beloved brands. You probably recognize all of these brands up here. They have a rich heritage, quality products. They'll live on, a story to tell, and a name that means something. So Patagonia and Eileen Fisher were actually our very first brands. In February, we launched with Allbirds. And we are growing. So hopefully next year this slide will double in size. That's the game plan. So I'm going to walk you through the operations process and then dive into photography process. I talked about Trove at Flow LA, if people were there, and I got great feedback to talk more about the day in the photo studio, or a glimpse of the photo studio. So I'm going to jump into that as well. So the process and operations is a bit different than your e-commerce because we have 4 pillars. So trade-in, so that's the natural experience of your brand. So you can trade in items at the store. You could have mail-in kits. We're trying to make it really easy for customers to clean out their closets. For me, that's like the hardest part. You have something, you don't want to get rid of it. It sits in a bag in your hallway for a really long time. So we want to make it easy. Operational excellence, this is all the logistics. We handle it all. We do a visual inspection, we condition grade, we authenticate, make sure it's the real deal. We do cleaning, refurbish, repair. This is where photography comes into play. And then we do fulfillment, brand packaging, and customer service. And then if items don't qualify as sellable, we also do next best use. So we're here for the whole program. So we have further extension of life. We're really committed. So for example, if we'll take rubber soles off shoes that are too well used and we'll send them to a company that turns them into the squishy stuff for playgrounds. So we're just continually getting all of your items out of the landfill. And it's trusted resale because it's on the mainline e-commerce site. So we're not a brick and mortar store. So when you go to levis.com, they have a tab that says secondhand. When you go to rei.com, there's a tab that says used gear. And you click on it and it's a website. So it's trusted for brands and they can go back, and it's how to keep your customers coming back for used gear. And you grow your business without growing your carbon footprint, which is amazing. So I'm going to jump into photography. That's why we're all here. So the photo studio operation. So like I said, I'm the photo studio manager. And our process is probably very similar to everyone else's. It's around a 3-day process. So the first step, 1, pre-production, prepping, steaming clothes. Then the second day, we're styling, either lay down or hanging. And then the third day is post-production. We use pixels, so we send out at night, and in the morning, the next day at 8 a.m., the images are ready. So we can get stuff out in 3 days, which is amazing. When I first started, it was taking many days to get out because they had a huge backlog. But we know we can do better than 3 days. That's the goal. So the philosophy of Trove and branded recommerce has really shaped my approach to managing a photo studio and has really influenced the choices I make. Definitely, photography documents the journey and the object. The object has meaning. So this is a great pair of Levi's that came through the studio. We see a lot of really cool stuff come through the studio, and this one just really spoke to me. I connected with these jeans because it's a little hard to see, but there's doodles and hand drawing, definitely from the mid 90s. This is when I was in high school. There's song lyrics. Kurt Cobain says R.I.P. Kurt Cobain. I was in high school getting ready for basketball practice when he died. So I really resonated with this item. And I keep thinking about this. So that's what we mean is these brands, there's definitely a connection with the customers. So it's influenced how I've made choices by transparency and trust. We photograph every single item. So we work on a single SKU operations, which is really different from photographing one sample and then there's thousands of those units in the DC. You have to photograph exactly how it is. The customer needs to see if the stitching is a little sideways on these Levi's, or there's a patch, or there's ballpoint drawings all over it. So we style more of a minimal styling, and a documentation is what we like to call it. So transparency and trust also goes into transparency and trust with the team. And in the studio, on a sustainability note, it's really shaped how I've thought of things. I always like a pristine photo studio, right? It's clean desk, clean mind. But I really reuse items a lot more than I used to. I acquire gear locally, so I purchase items from Sammy's Camera in San Francisco. We have a great relationship with them. That way, if anything breaks, rarely does, or any replacements needed, we can get it same day. One major thing I did that I was so happy about was we also purchased used gear. So I purchased used power packs, Broncolor power packs. They're built to live. And when I got to the studio, they were just using really, really low quality LED lights. They've purchased everything off of Amazon, and they just haven't stood the test of time. They were buying lower quality items. No diss to Amazon. And I know Ricardo's here, Rodrigo's here. But what we're purchasing was low quality. So we purchased higher quality items because of we got them out of the landfill, right? These were rentals. We got them into use, and they're working great. And they also, how I was able to spend a lot of money. We're a startup, and we sell used gear. Is we could cut back 50% of retouching time. We didn't have to color correct every single item. I mean, they had 2 cameras on set, 2 different types of cameras, one doing a detail shot, one doing the overall shot. You can imagine the images look different, the colors look different, so we were spending so much time in post-production trying to make it look right. So a lot of efficiencies we made down the road. One camera, shoot it at high quality so you can leverage for that detail. Also, I'm really excited about this. I've always had to throw away pins after styling. Put them in a box so it doesn't rip through the garbage bag. We called Recology, they're our local waste management. They will recycle our pins for us. We just have to tape them up a certain way. So I'm also really, really proud of how green we are. And foam core, I reuse foam core for everything. Our V-flats, they are used foam core. I used to want perfect clean V-flats. I also give them to the rest of the fulfillment team. They put them on the ends of the stacks. We build walls with them. We're just constantly reusing things, which is phenomenal. Photography production. Because we have such a high volume, single SKU business, it needs to be repeatable, it needs to be efficient, it needs to be scalable. Probably what everyone in this room is doing as well. But I love showing this graph. It's an amazing graph. It's one of my favorites because it just falls off the page. This is showing a new partner that we worked with last year and all the items we shot for them. And at the bottom of the screen, it goes from March all the way to January. So we're able to scale and grow really fast. So we're shooting like 60,000 items when a website launches. We were 2 times faster from the previous year, so we're able to scale with new partners. How do we do it? Lots of little wins, lots of big wins. Like I said, it took a year and a half, but the first thing I did was I built trust with the team. When I first started, I did one-on-ones with everyone. I shadowed everyone. They hadn't had a photo studio manager for 5 months. Everyone was returning from the pandemic, the closure in March. They all had to come back in April. Not everyone returned. So just being really empathetic to everyone working under the circumstances. And for 2 months, I was just meeting with everyone, talking to different departments, which hadn't happened before, talking with our partnership team, saying, what's Eileen Fisher's feedback about photography? Just wanting to know as much information as possible before I made any changes. I wanted to understand. And then the first thing I tackled was to get out of a backlog. They had a really, really impressive backlog, and I think that was also due to COVID. Racks and racks and racks of clothes just sitting in the queue, chugging along. And so what I came up with was a 2-month plan, and we were moving into a new space just down the street. So as we were moving into the new space, I set up 10 sets there. I built more sets at the other place, and I had doubled the team, had a hybrid team of full-time and freelance. So I was hiring full-time, bringing in freelance stylists, and I got out of a tens of thousand backlog in 2 months. So we were able to get all that product up on the site, which was amazing for our partners so we can start selling it. Another huge thing I do is data, time tracking, and feedback. I mean, down to, okay, let's get out a stopwatch and see how long it takes to style things. I'm working in Google Sheets. We have a data analytics team, which is amazing, with Looker reports, so we can see how long it takes to get through photo, retouching, prep, etc. And we just start talking about numbers with the team, and we revise it quarterly. So I've been able to increase my shot count without, people groaning. I mean, I understand as a wardrobe stylist, you go to set and say, what's the shot count? And the next time you come back, you're like, oh my God, 10 more? This is crazy. But it was really driven from the team. Like, how fast do you think we need to do it? Really getting their buy-in. We've also done some amazing tech solves. We outsource retouching, like I said, at Pixels. We had a vendor where they weren't sending back images up to 5 days later, sometimes not all of them. The only way we could contact them was via Skype. We had to download the images, and I was like, this is crazy. And I had worked with Pixels before, so I brought Pixels on, and it's been a lifesaver. And as Pixels grows with us, we had to learn how to do retouching for used gear. As a retoucher, you want to take those flaws out, right? You see a thread pull, or you see some sort of flaw in the fabric. It's, as a retoucher, you're like, let's remove it. And we actually need to show that to the customer. So we worked really closely with Pixels on having our own templates where there's no flaw removal. Dust, yes, but not thread pull. So really, really specific. And now as we've grown, we've been able to have Pixels do all of our editing for us. So when it comes back in, our in-house retouching team is doing like a QC check. So they're able to get through 3,000, 4,000 images a day, 4 people. So it's really impressive. So we've been able to scale fast. Script work, hybrid team, full-time and freelance. So we work with ebbs and flows, especially with used gear. We don't know how many customers are going to trade in items. There's very, very, very little forecasting. So you have to be able to flex right away. And then the one thing I like to do is ask 5 whys. So Here's an example. If we had an Arc'teryx jacket, we had to fold it over exactly 3 inches, tape it down. Gore-Tex, you're really having to work that fabric, and it took a really long time. So talking to one of the photographers who styles, I said, what do you think we should do? And he's like, well, this is how it's approved. And why? This is how they like it. Okay, well, what do they like about the 3-inch fold? And we just kept getting to the why. And it was to see the interior. I said, how would you show the interior? Do a half zip. Great. We did a half zip. We timed it, said, hey, this is going to save X amount of time. Sent it to Arc'teryx, and they're like, great, we love it. So not being afraid to ask and speak with the partners too. So I'm just going to walk through a couple case studies. These are really cool collections from the brand. So this one is from Eileen Fisher, the Mended collection. It was exclusive to Eileen Fisher Renew. That's their resale program that Trove runs. And you can see there were these beautiful cashmere sweaters with hand-mended contrast stitching. If there was a hole, they hand-mended them and fixed them. 80% of the collection sold out within minutes of an email that went out. So there's just quite a demand for it, and it makes it really unique and special. Here's 2 examples of the product photography we did for them, right? We hang it up on a hanger. We keep the hanger in. Let gravity do its thing. And then Patagonia. Patagonia is an amazing partner. I love working with them. They're really evolving with customers and moving towards the future of retail. This is a really great quote from them. We're looking for total circularity, and we need a platform and a channel like what Trove offers to achieve it. They have a collection called Recrafted, and they work with a tailor. She's up there. Her name's also Lindsey. She's in LA. And they take jackets that are beyond wear. They are literally, next step is the landfill. And they'll have about 3 jackets to create 1 jacket. So you can see at the top right, that vest is probably about 3 to 4 different jackets or vests. And they recreate these one-of-a-kind unique pieces. And down below is an example of a shirt. And here's one of their bags. And they're really awesome. They're really unique. They sell out fast because they're individual pieces. And another quote from Patagonia is, Trove understands and shares our philosophy. So again, we're out there in circular fashion. Large brands, we work directly with brands, but definitely it's a new version of commerce, not just e-commerce, it's recommerce. So just want to share my experience with them, and thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Lindsey. Any questions, guys, from the audience? Back here.
Hi, I would think that each of these brands have their own style guides for each photos, and how do you manage that, and how is the workflow like that?
Yeah, so you asked about each brand has their own style guide. Exactly that. I create a style guide for each brand, looking at their mainline website. So Lululemon, for example, worked with Lululemon art directors before we launched with them, and that's where we talked about what kind of styling you want. Then I photograph some test samples, send them over, and that's how we do on an approval process. I try to keep all the lighting consistent because we will shoot all different brands all day. So this is a one area that I say this is the type of Trove lighting we offer, but we can do laydowns, flat lay, clean with some movement, and then we align on post-production. Yeah, and they have their each individual style guide.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I was wondering, using so many individual SKUs, one, are they designated as SKU when they go onto the site? And secondly, how do you get the images associated with the SKUs on the site so quickly with the volume of products you're working with?
Yeah, so we depend on the brand to send over their catalog information first. And so we have our own internal PIM tool that we created. So, example, Eileen Fisher is a really old brand, so they've been around for a long time, paper catalog. We're always updating the catalog, or if they're like, okay, that hasn't launched yet. Shoes for Eileen Fisher launched. So we had to get their catalog information. So we have that information, and when it comes in, our authenticators will bring up an item, and they know the product really, really well. So we have around like 60 people, sometimes 80, and this person will always work on Eileen Fisher or Lululemon, and they're like, oh, this is the Align body wrap. I mean, they know their stuff. And then they look into the system, they find the catalog, and then it prints out a QR code with a specific SKU for that single individual item. But there are instances where we don't know what this is actually, and there's no catalog information. And so Trove has come up with, it might say, this is a Lululemon women's racerback tank top in yellow. And so there are a few items up there that is not that exact item, but we're still selling it. You had a second part to your question.
Just how you get them mapped to those SKUs essentially on the site.
Oh yeah, so that's where the catalog information comes in and generates its own unique item ID, and then that when we scan the item when we photograph it, and that goes into the file name, and then once we upload it into our PIM tool, it pushes it out to the website and has all that metadata attached to it.
So as far as the style guides go and the different brands that you're handling, how have you guys found it, or how have you found the most efficient way to shoot so many brands on a particular day for a particular style guide? Do you have a team that kind of like takes inventory first and figures out like, okay, we're going to shoot all Patagonia today according to their style guides, or do you just kind of have multiple people shooting different things at once and then organizing later, or how does that work?
Yeah, we have multiple people shooting multiple brands, and so I have 18 sets, and so the prep team will just prep Arc'teryx and have Arc'teryx on one rack or Patagonia on one rack. And so then I assign a brand to each photographer who also styles it. But there are some people on my team where they're like, hey, they're the Arc'teryx expert, or this person is really good at bags. So it's all up in my head and knowing the team really well who works best with each brand. But my goal is to get the entire team to be able to style any brand. So we're always training each other and talking about best practices, and check out this short crotch move that Dennis knows. Like, oh my God. So doing a lot of demos with each other. But yeah, all brands all the time. And we work on a first in, first out model. So, when I worked at the Gap or Stitch Fix, you always shot in order of when it stocks in the DC, and it has to be up on the site. This is a little bit different. So as soon as we receive it, that one goes to the front of the line.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lindsey.
Thank
Let's
you.
give her a round of applause.